Hey everybody, this is Javi, and you're watching the Bowtie Psychic here on YouTube. I'm a psychic and intuitive medium who uses divination and storytelling to help people overcome generational trauma. And tonight I'm actually doing a reading for Gemini, a love reading, a general love reading for Gemini. And so it doesn't matter where you fall, whether you're a moon sign, sun sign, rising sign, or Venus. There's a bunch of others too, but those are the main ones that I'll be focusing on as far as planets and things of that nature. Um, I am also focusing on not just romantic relationships, but platonic relationships as well, and also relationships with family, with friends. So everything, my way across the board here. And I already put the intention out there that this reading is for people who will resonate with it. And so if you resonate with it, that's cool. You can subscribe to the channel, make a comment, share, and also follow me on Instagram and it's Facebook. So yeah, so let's get started. And while I was pulling cards, or before I pull cards, I tapped in the spirit and asked, to connect me to the mind and bodies and spirit in the heart of Geminis who will resonate with this message. And the first thing I received straight away is distrust, a lot of distrust. A lot of hurt happened with Gemini, and I'm just getting this intuitively. There was a lot of hurt that Geminis went through, a lot of emotional pain that, especially when it came to romantic relationships. Um, the person you were with or the people you were with did you dirty, and you feel it. You feel it to this day. And this is not just like a recent hurt; these are old hurts. And it's to the point where a lot of you Geminis are not trusting anybody at this point. You're afraid of letting people in. You have no problem sharing information on an academic level. You have no problem doing that whatsoever. But when it comes to actually being vulnerable with people and being with someone and have that relationship be very heartfelt, is as if like you shut down and you want nothing to do with that whatsoever. And it's because of this past hurt, whatever this hurt is, whoever cause that hurt, whether it really doesn't matter or whether it's um, you know a man or a woman or a gender nonconforming individual. I'm just getting straight up and flat out that you Gemini were extremely hurt by this person. I just feel like um, when it comes to love, someone has to prove to you, and when you put people in the position to prove to you that they care about you. They have to go through thick and thin, um, ride or die type of situation sometimes. In fact, what I'm also getting is that it does not make any sense for someone to say that they love you. They have to show that love. They have to show that compassion. They have to show that admiration because for you, actions are to speak louder than words. Actions are more powerful than anybody's word because you yourself know how powerful words are. You yourself, especially if you're an author or work with words or speak, you're a communicator. Mercury is and I'm a Gemini. That is my sun sign. So like communication is huge. Communication is extremely huge. Um, Knowing and not knowledge is also a huge thing. And so you have no problem being communicative. You have no problem, showing people knowledge and telling people what you know. But when it comes to anything real or anything tangible, as far as a relationship is concerned, someone needs to back up their shit. And that's what I'm getting straight away. I'm just getting that this time when it comes to any sort of romantic relationship, you want something that is very long term. You're looking for something long term, and you're looking for someone who isn't going to bore you to death. You're also looking for somebody who's just real. You're a type of person, Gemini. Um, Deep down, you're extremely real at this point. A lot of folks, during the summer season, um, they did a lot of playing around. This time you didn't. This time you didn't at all. A lot of Geminis are not about that energy anymore. They are about something extremely long term. They're about something that is about children, family, someone who isn't trying to play around, someone who is very playful, someone who doesn't take themselves seriously. So you'll probably end up being with another air sign, or if you are to be with someone, you're looking either for another air sign or a water sign, someone who isn't very serious. Maybe a Pisces um, is another or is a sign that you are to be with. Excuse me, I just like blanked out. Or in Aquarius, you in Aquarius are very much alike as far as your personality and also your 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 love of words, your love of creativity, and also your love for justice. And so the Geminis and Aquarius, um, they're like, even though they're both air signs, they get together, it's as if like something electric happens. And so you're definitely looking for someone that you want to have a strong connection with, and you're looking for someone who wants to be with someone else in the long term. You're not looking for someone to play with. You're not looking for someone to have a one night stand with. Uh, you're looking for someone who is just very loyal, very compassionate. Um, and not just a talker, than someone who's academic, but you're looking for someone who will love you and cherish you, and that's what you're looking for in a partner as well. You're also looking for that um, in relationships, as far as family and friends. You're looking for that same thing. You're looking for people who are actually going to look out for you, Gemini. You're not here for fair weather friendships. You're not here for something that is just going to be like a season and not a lifetime. You had enough. You went through a lot of growth. You went through a lot of pain and suffering, and you're looking for something that's much tangible. Um, I would not be surprised at all if you were like, as far as friendships, you take them very serious. You take friendships very, very seriously. You don't like losing people. And so, switching back to friends, like, as far as friends, excuse me, like a lot of Geminis they want friends forever. They don't like to have a lot of change when it comes to that. And so, what ends up happening is that when someone walks out of your life, um, it's as if someone hit you. You take it like it's as if someone like slapped you in your face. Because especially if they ghost on you and you don't know what's happening. The same thing um, with family. Very very sensitive when it comes to family. Almost like you have like this cancer vibe. And to be honest with you, if you are those who are like near um, the cancer sign or near cancer season, don't be surprised when it comes to any sort of relationship you're in, your feeling towards people and your feeling towards relationships are very intense, because it's around cancer season. You and cancers are right next door to one another, and you're just a very sensitive person when it comes to giving your heart to people. Um, it's not just about having someone to entertain you or having someone to provide some sort of conversation for you so you can be intellectually stimulated. When it comes to relationships, Gemini, believe it or not, you do take them seriously. Especially that's what I'm seeing in this particular spread. Um, and I know that there's like the whole thing with Gemini where it can be selfish and self-centered, and that could be very well be the case, especially when it comes to your feelings. But what I'm getting from this is that you are being called, Gemini, when it comes to any sort of relationship, to basically see things from that person's perspective, instead of taking things seriously and instead of seeing it as a personal affront. Definitely do everything you can to not um, take it to heart and to basically put yourself in that person's situation, depending on what happened, and see where they're coming from. And also don't jump to conclusions. Don't jump to conclusions and automatically assume that that person does not want to be around you because of of a misunderstanding. Okay, because even though Gemini's are great communicators, we have a tendency to jump to a lot of conclusions when it comes to other people and their intentions. So just be aware of that. Um, I'm getting that when it comes to certain types of relationships, um, Geminis have the tendency to be very close-minded. There's like 1 minute you're okay with that person, and once they mess up, they're done. That's like a for me. That's like a Capricorn type of trait, and this is actually that type of that behavior is very strong in Capricorns or people who have Capricorn in their sign, where someone who makes one mistake and they are out. You know what I mean? You're if this is a case for, and I'm getting that on that Capricorn energy, and so with these cards as well, we get like a Capricorn energy, um, air signs, um, water signs, like you're y'all, we're pretty much everywhere, and so pretty much we're being told well, Geminis are pretty much everywhere. Geminis are pretty much a jack of all trades when it comes to being around other people. We have a tendency to hop from one group to another, so that's not a surprising thing at all. But what I'm getting is that when it comes to interacting with other people, um, I'm just getting to give them a chance and not cut them off. Give them don't automatically assume the worst. Okay, because when it comes to love and loving other people, um, depending on how bad things went or how depending on how bad things are going with whomever you're dating, uh, give them an opportunity to explain themselves. Give them the opportunity to tell you what happened if something were to like pop off. Because what ends up happening with Geminis is that we have a tendency to get angry or jump. Like I said, we jump to conclusions. So, like a lot of our personalities and a lot of our thoughts are coming in at once, and we're ready to like just react. And so, we're being told by spirit not to do that when it comes to love and when it comes to interacting with other people. So what I got for this card, I'm using like three different decks here. The deck that I'm using is right now, at least this is the cards that I'm using right now. It's from the Oracle of the Mermaid deck. And so what I got here is the air card. And basically what it says here at the bottom is uh, breathing deep, entering into life, exchange of life bringing energies. Um, so basically, again, when it comes to being with other people and working with other people, um, make sure that you. I'm just getting like please interact with that person in a way that's respectful. Interact in a way that is basically like life giving when it comes to that relationship. This is about give and take. This is about give and take. And so when you're in a relationship, it's not just about you, Gemini. It's not just about, you, and your feelings and your hurt and your pain. You have a whole nother person, a whole nother personality with you. Okay. This is um, not just for monogamous relationships, but polyamorous relationships and open relationships as well. It's not just about you. It's not about you being right. It's not about you being correct. It's not about you winning an argument. This is about a give and take type of situation when you're with someone, and basically being aware of what they're saying. Like when it comes to being a Gemini, I will admit like it's always about you know you are the show, you are the center. Okay, In our minds, the world revolves around us. It's no different from when it comes to that. It's no different from being a Leo, to be honest with you, because it's about it's as Leos are about look at me, look at my appearance, look at my ego, look at my confidence. Our confidence comes from our knowledge and our means of communication, and so it's basically about um, listen to what I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying, be aware of what I know, excuse me, be aware of what I know, um, and this is what I think. And so when it comes to you know talking with other people and communicating with other people, you got to realize, Gemini, that you are not right all the time. Your way of thinking is not right all the time. Your way of saying things may not be right all the time. Communication is very much key when you're in any sort of relationship, especially when it comes to friendships and romantic relationships, because you are letting another person into your life. Another person is being um, placed in your presence. And so when you are not listening to them, and I see a lot of communication breakdown. There's a lot of communication breakdown when it comes to Gemini. So you are being told straight up and flat out um, to listen to that person and see where they're coming from instead of just thinking that whenever there's an argument, it's about your feelings and how you feel alone. I'm definitely getting that right now. I'm getting that some of y'all, whoever you're in a relationship with, y'all arguing. You're constantly arguing. You're constantly just basically just come into some sort of clash because simply because you're not listening, Gemini. You're not listening either. You aren't listening or the other person isn't listening. Either way, there's a lack of communication. Um, or if there is communication, it's not exactly clear. And so you're being asked to examine that and watch that, Gemini, just so you're not causing any more static or causing any static in your relationship. I'm just feeling like a communication breakdown because it's about you getting your thoughts out and having this desire and this need um, to make sure that your spouse or your significant other hears you. And so is you are to be listening to you are to listen to um, to the other person, Gemini, because when you're not, that's when you start running into problems. So I also got soul cage here. Rescue, escape from captivity or restriction. Let's see what this says. I'm getting that this is not just you; it's the other person. I'm not getting this about. For some reason, I'm not feeling a lot of Gemini energy from this. This is actually the other person. What I'm getting that the other person that you're with feels very restricted. They feel very restricted. They feel like um, they have no room in your life. And so as a result of that, they feel very stuck and they feel very caged. Do not be surprised, Gemini, if you end up breaking up with this person or they end up breaking up with you because because of the communication breakdown and the fact that they feel like they don't have any room in your life. You have so much going on. You have so much going on outside of the home. You have so much going on outside of that person's life that sometimes you don't put too much emphasis on the relationship. You don't give that person enough time. Um, and that's compromising your relationship. And so this person feels like um, they are to move out of the way. They are to move out of the way. They feel like in order for them to breathe or in order for you to have what you are looking for, they are not to be there. And so don't be surprised at all when you all of a sudden get that text or you get that phone call or you get that Facebook message. We need to talk. Don't be surprised about that. Like that's why you're being told straight up and flat out to examine your behavior and to look at your behavior when it comes to love and it comes to trust, because sometimes the our that distrust comes from trauma or any sort of traumatic event that happened in a relationship prior to maybe the one that you're in now. What ends up happening is that the person you were with treated you a certain way, and that you don't leave that sort of situation unscathed. And so now you're bringing all that drama into the relationship because you did not work on yourself, you did not work on your stuff at all. I'm also getting to that the one of the reasons why you are not allowing yourself to get too close to this person emotionally, um, or even mentally or intellectually, is because of those past hurts. And so, Gemini, you're being asked to examine those past hurts, examine that past pain, that traumatic pain that came, into the relationship when you got into this relationship, and start to do the work. If you end up breaking up with this person for whatever reason, please don't jump into a relationship or even attempt to find someone else. Do what you can to release a lot of the trauma that keeps you from moving forward and and being in a long term or fulfilling long term relationship, because there's a lot of us that are going and getting into these relationships thinking that we don't deserve happiness, or thinking that we are not good enough, we're not lovable or capable of loving. And so that is something to, this is a time to do a ritual, maybe like there's a lot of retrogrades coming up, there's a lot of new moons coming up, but don't wait until the new moon, or wait until that energy comes through to do a ritual, a cleansing ritual or a release ritual. Um, at all. You can light a white candle. You can light a white and a light pink candle, and basically like do some writing at your altar, and basically, and once you write your intentions, of what you are going to be releasing, burn the paper and just basically set it and forget it. When you like, because burning paper, fire in general is basically very cleansing. It's as if you are able to just burn the past, burn away the past, and start over. So that's why you're being called to do some sort of ritual around letting go, um, and and also if there's any sort of, and basically to let go of trauma in any way, shape, or form. If you are seeing, if you have a spiritual advisor or seeing a spiritual advisor, basically let them know, have sessions with them, regular sessions with them, and basically start doing some release exercises. But also by yourself, ask spirit and your spirit guides to help you release a lot of that trauma, a lot of that, and also like I'm also getting to this whole thing was soul ties. Be aware of soul ties. Be aware of the energy of other people that you've been with intimately, living within you, because that does happen. Do a ritual bath to get rid of all of that energy and ask spirit to, clear about your intentions. Ask spirit to ask spirit to basically um, cleanse your body, cleanse your mind, body, and spirit of all that you've been with, all who you've been with, whether it be in the past life or lovers that you've had in this lifetime as well, and basically move on from there. As far as family, I'm also getting to that. Um, do not allow your family and their past hurts towards you to hinder who you are, or you know make you determine who you are and who and how you're supposed to love. Because I'm also getting to that a lot of family, a lot of trauma, a lot of family trauma. It also interferes with how relationships relationships go and what they look like. I know for me, my mother and father did not have the most kosher relationship. If anything, it was very toxic and very abusive, and that's all I knew. And as a result of that, like I still struggle with finding a relationship uh, that didn't involve some sort of um, abuse in some way, shape, or form, whether it be emotional or or um, or verbal, or some sort of emotional manipulation that went on with that. And so, like almost every relationship I've been in was very unhealthy because I did not have an example. So basically, well, that's another thing too, as far as um, you know, escaping from that captivity, escaping from that notion that because of your past and because of how you witness relationships go down in your past, whether it be through your family or a friendship, that somehow this is basically how it's going to be for you as well. And so that's not the case at all. And do not feed into that. I'm also getting to for the experiments card. The experiments card: manipulation of nature, forging change, cruelty in the pursuit of knowledge, and arrogance. Again, do not allow your ego and your past, okay, to determine what type of relationship you're going to be. That's probably what energy that was coming from this card, and it just went from one card to the next. So basically, this is what this card is saying. Do not allow your past, don't allow your shadows, okay? Don't allow your toxic self, because we all have toxicity and have grown from toxicity. Don't allow this to determine what type of relationship you're going to have, Gemini. It does not surprise me that that if you can see, the mermaid is like is very much a pale skin as opposed to this shadow person. I truly believe that this is us. This part uh, right here is our shadow self. Our shadow self that has a lot of emotions and a lot of um, like emotions and ideologies and thoughts that we have the tendency to run away from. They live within us. They shaped us. They shaped that dark part of ourselves. And we tend to run away from it. We tend to run away from it because we tell ourselves that if someone knew what we, um, how we acted and what we looked like, on the inside, if we people, thought about, if people had a problem with what uh, we thought, or how we thought, what we did. Like we always have these, like I said, we jump to conclusions. We tell ourselves that um, if we all we have to do is act a certain way, we'll be okay, and this person will like us, and that's not the case at all. What ends up happening is that our darkness comes out in some way, shape, or form. Our darkness, when we don't face it head on, or we don't acknowledge it and we try to push it away, it comes out sideways. We can't run away. Especially, this is very true for people who are afraid to look at their trauma, and they go and get married, or they go to be part of some relationship or a few relationships, and they figure out why they don't even know why it's not working out. It's because we are not facing our shit. It's because we are running away from our shadow work. It's because we're using relationships as a means to cover up, you know, um, to cover up what we're ashamed of. And remember, and I said this last night in the Monday Night Special segment or on Facebook. Basically, we we attract what we don't heal from. We literally attract what we don't heal from. So if we are not healed from a lot of our trauma, we're going to find someone or be attracted to someone or attract someone who is basically a physical reenactment of what we went through before we got into that relationship. So we're literally being told through this card to face our stuff before we even decide to get into a relationship, to face our shadows, to look at our shadows head on instead of looking to a relationship to fix us or looking or basically traumatize somebody because we haven't fixed our own stuff yet. So that experiment card is basically saying before you even decide to get into a relationship in any way, shape, or form, do your work. Because if not, it's going to come out in that relationship. I speak from personal experience. I've used relationships to basically, I use it as a buffer. I use it as like your trauma. Here's how I see it. Your trauma is like a lake, and basically everything you're hiding from that person um, that you're dating is basically like a wall or a dam holding that water. When that person leaves, when those people leave, or that person leaves, or the relationship falls apart, because it will, is as if a dam breaks, and your depression, anxiety, PTSD, a lot of your sex abuse issues, your emotional manipulation patterns, the toxicity, it comes back, it floods back, it floods and hits you in the face. And I'm telling you from personal experience. So that's what that card is coming from. Like it's it really makes no sense. It makes no sense. This is really one of the reasons why a lot of Geminis, um, they basically go after knowledge. They chase knowledge because it's easier than dealing with another person. It's easier than being vulnerable with another person. It's easy to pick up a book. It's easy to get politically involved. It's easy to pick up an article and read it. It's okay for you to. It's easier. It's easier to do that than to basically open your heart, not only for to yourself, but for other people that you are interested in. And again, if you do not, when, not even if, when you do not face those shadows and face that a lot of that stuff head on, what ends up happening is that it ends up slapping you in the face, and it will use another person to do it. So that's what's going on. You're asked to um, Gemini to look at your own stuff before you get into a relationship that reminds you of what you haven't healed from. And so here's another concremancy, contromancy, I think it is. It's seashell division and wisdom of shells. A lot of you are intuitive. A lot of you are, when it comes to love and when it comes to being with someone that you wish to be with, a lot of you are very intuitive as to whether or not this person is right for you. And I'm talking about romantic relationships at this point. A lot of Geminis know what was good. A lot of us know what we're dealing with when it comes to our own behavior or the behavior of someone else's or someone else's behavior. I'm also getting too from that card that you're not fooling the people that you are pursuing either. A lot of them are also intuitive and they have that gut instinct and they know when someone has not done their work. They know when someone, when something about you isn't right. They know that something about you isn't resolved. They know. You also know, Gemini, of the red flags. You keep but a lot of the time, you have the tendency to push them away. You have the tendency to push them away. You have the tendency to um, ignore the signs. And when it comes to family and friends, when it comes to them being toxic towards you, there like it's as if like there aren't a lot of boundaries. And so they know, like they, it's as if people use their intuition to determine whether, especially when it comes to family and friends, um, whether or not they are to cross that boundary. You yourself are being asked to watch for signs. Watch for signs of people um, when it comes to family and friends, boundaries, whether or not they're going to cross your boundaries. Be aware of their intentions. Be aware of the intentions of the people that you are that you are wanting to date or have an interest in dating. I'm getting from that card that yeah, like straight up and flat out is really time for you to start listening to your gut, start being mindful of your intentions. And when spirit is basically saying like no, this motherfucker isn't right, be aware that that motherfucker isn't right. Be aware that that person is placed in your life as a test for you. And again, if you're getting red flags, Gemini, listen to those red flags. If that person doesn't want to be with you for whatever reason, that's not on you. But if it's a pattern, it's time for you to ask yourself what this pattern is. Especially if you're the common denominator and you've been through trauma. What's going on? Why are you ignoring the red flags when you know that this person isn't good for you? Stuff like that. There are times when you cannot intellectualize. You can't intellectualize everything. And so when it comes to your personal growth, there's nothing to intellectualize. There's nothing to intellectualize. You deserve to be in a relationship that works for you, but it can only happen for you um, if you are doing the work and not ignoring the red flags. If you're not ignoring the patterns. If you're listening to spirit, the spirit is telling you um, that one of the reasons why you're not in a relationship is because you are not ready. And the reason why you're not ready is because there's more work to do. Okay? Yeah, I'm just getting from all four cards here. Um, in a nutshell, the air card, the soul cage card, and the experiments card. These cards right here, they're all telling the story of how Gemini's, um, how they interact with other people in relationships, how other people after interact with them, and why, and what Gemini's can do about it to change the narrative. I don't know if people recognize this already, but when I do these readings, it usually focuses on people who are struggling with trauma or struggling with like a lot of unresolved trauma, and how spirituality can actually help them with that. And so that's why I keep getting on these readings of like, look, there's nothing. It's not me saying like you're doing something wrong, but it's definitely spirit is saying that when it comes to relationships and when it comes to um, those who are pursuing you, those who are pursuing you, romantically, or when it comes to other people, your family, your friends, platonic relationships, it goes way deeper than just being with someone or being pursued by someone. It's about how you energetically relates to that person and how energetically that person relates to you. Um, and I'm just feeling right now or getting right now that one of the reasons why the relationships for Geminis at this point are not working is because there's some unresolved trauma there's some unresolved trauma going on in regards to distrust and picking partners that remind them of what they haven't healed from. Okay, so and how you are interacting with that person, like it's easy for Geminis to continuously worry about themselves or think about themselves, or it's a defense mechanism. When you're thinking about yourself, you can be or you're thinking about your own interests and not the other person. It's because this is how I what I'm getting. This is also how I feel. It's because if you're interested in that person, you like what they and you like them and you genuinely like them, and they do something to hurt you. Those are your feelings, and those are your feelings being hurt after you are vulnerable. So it's easy to think about yourself and to look for yourself the majority of the time, because attached to that person, when you're not attached to that person, you're less likely to be hurt by that person or group of people. But at the same time, by doing that, you're basically putting yourself in the position, Gemini, of being lonely and 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 not having a fulfilling relationship of any kind. So this is why you're being asked, you know, to look at yourself and to look at the situation when it comes to other people and other relationships, and 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 basically do the work necessary to basically uncover, just peel those onions. So in the long run, you'll have fulfilling relationships, and there'll be less and less drama that you are dealing with. Okay, so the card I have here, this is actually from the Messenger. Let me get it here. The box is right here. This is actually from the Messenger Oracle. So these are really pretty cards. I like them a lot. And so what you got here is the Reveal Your Truth. To be honest, in the number here is 54. Is it 54 or 34? Okay. That's 7, and 7 is a lucky number. The number of prosperity. So basically, what you're getting from this card is when it says reveal your truth, basically that's what is self-explanatory. Reveal your truth. Be yourself at all times. I know that Geminis have a lot of personalities, and a lot of them come out at once, and we're known for our mood swings and stuff like that. Um, but deep down, it's because a lot of us are walking around with a mask. A lot of us, like basically, a lot of people don't know who we really are. We're literally the chameleon of the zodiac sign. We're very sociable, so sometimes we have a tendency to change who we are depending on what group we're in. You know what I mean? But this card is basically saying when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love, when it comes to interacting with other people, do not change. Be yourself at all times. Don't change anybody. Don't fall into this stereotype of Geminis where we just like we're pretty much everywhere to the point where people don't know who we are. Break that cycle. Become vulnerable and reveal who you really are. There's nothing more. This is there's nothing more attractive to someone who is basically a front. There's nothing more attractive to me as a Gemini than someone basically putting it out on the table as far as um, what they are looking for. Honesty is everything to me. Honesty is pretty much everything to me. And so you're being called, Gemini, to be honest with yourself, to reveal the truth about yourself, and to not hide behind your trauma anymore. Allow people to love you and allow people to cherish you, but let them do that for the real you. That's why you're being asked in one of these cards, the contromancy card, in a sense, to basically start doing the shadow work necessary. At least all these cards are basically saying that. So you don't have to hide anymore. You can be who you are and be vulnerable to the point where you're not taking yourself so seriously to where you feel as if you have to hide. So when it comes, because when you're in a relationship, like a healthy, long-term relationship, everyone's 100. Like both partners or multiple partners, everyone's 100. Everyone is honest. There's like an even flow of communication. There's an even flow of honesty. There's an even flow of mutual respect. It is because people aren't out here faking and frauding. They're not lying. So you're pretty much being asked, Gemini, to stop fronting and to let people know who you really are. And also when it comes to patience, this card is be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process. Be patient with if you're dating, be patient with who that person is. Don't allow that person to put you in a position of being someone you're not or doing something you're not ready for. Not everybody's willing to settle down. But what I'm getting is that as long as you are able to be yourself and as long as you're able to have freedom, you're okay with that. You're okay. You're going to be okay with that person. That's another thing too. While during my um, and I'm going to go back in a minute. But this card right here, where it says Soul Cage, is not just talking about the other person, as I originally thought. It's also talking about you. You don't like being restricted. You don't like being restricted at all. Okay. When you are with somebody, they have to give you room. You just feel like if I can't be myself, that's why another this card has also come up. Communication is very much key. These two cards come together like very nicely, because you don't when you are restricted, you cannot be like it's as if you are not able to be at your full capacity, Gemini. When you are restricted or putting yourself in a position of being restricted, or the person you're restricting that other person because you have like a certain way of looking at them, basically uh, the relationship is not um, the foundation of the relationship is an honesty and mutual respect. So basically, what I'm getting from this card is that the both of you, especially you, Gemini, you are not to be restricted. You're not to be restricted. You're one of those people that you are to be with. You are to have your freedom at all times. That's another thing. When you reveal your truth and start living your authentic self, that's freedom. And so when you're not able to be free, the relationship ain't going to work. So make sure that whomever you are with, you're able to live off. Excuse me, authentically, speak authentically, think authentically, and live your truth. And live your truth. Okay. Um, and also, like I said, be patient with the process. Be patient with that person. If you're already in a relationship, be patient with them. Um, I'm just getting, especially if they're another air sign. If they're another air sign, be gentle with them. Be gentle with them. They don't because not everybody thinks like you do. Not everybody flows the way you do. Not everybody sees responsibility the way you do, or lack thereof. You don't like having a lot of responsibilities. It actually overwhelms you to have a lot of responsibilities. So be patient with yourself. And also, um, that person is to be um, that person is to be patient with you. Like when you're with the other person, you are to get to know them, especially with family and friends. If they don't think the way you do, or see things the way you do, and they're not doing something that's going to harm you, explain yourself, but also don't be so like not because like I said, not everyone thinks like you. So when it comes to family and friends, have as much patience for them as you possibly can. Have as much tolerance, as you possibly can, as long as they're not disrespecting you. They're not disrespecting your identity or disrespecting your sexual orientation. Patience is very much the key here. As far as this card, I'm just getting this. Basically, I'm getting more about of romantic relationships. You and the person that you are with or wanting to be with. They are to be you are to be patient with one another. I'm just getting this when it comes to with an air card. Um, to be honest with you, I don't see for the most part. I don't see any other fire sign. I don't see you dating any other fire sign besides a Sagittarius. You two are very much alike as long as you don't like beat each other's faces all the time. You and like basically Geminis and Sagittarians, y'all pretty much alike. So if I see y'all dating, if there's anyone that would date another fire sign, if Gemini's were to date a fire sign, Sagittarius will be it. But other than that, I see you with another air sign or a water sign. Pisces. I see you being with a Pisces, to be honest with you. So be patient with whomever you're with, especially if they're a Pisces. Pisces are very sensitive individuals, and they mean very well. You don't have to yell at them or be angry with them. You know, they get what you're saying. They just have another way of looking at the world. So this is actually from a tarot deck, the Dreams of Gaia deck, the last three cards I have. And so what I have here is the 10 of air. And what I'm getting from this card straight up and flat out is that you are not um, you're not cut out to be like everybody else. You are to have your intellectual freedom, Gemini, and when you don't have your intellectual freedom, the game is over. The relationship is over. You will walk away from somebody real quick if your autonomy, your intellectual autonomy, um, it is compromised by this relationship. You rather be away from somebody or be single for the rest of your days than to be around somebody who does not allow you to think for yourself. This is what I'm getting from this card straight up and flat out. When you're not able to think for yourself and you're with somebody who actually criticizes um your thinking or criticizes your way of thinking, it's like deuces, I'm out. Because it adds to whatever. And like I said, I I tap into people who have gone through some sort of trauma. So when I got this card right away, I wasn't surprised because a lot of people who have gone through some sort of trauma, um, a lot of them their intellectual freedom was often compromised or arrested, you know, or their creativity was arrested, by someone they were with. If they've gone through some sort of childhood trauma, you know, children are to be seen and not heard, or they were ridiculed for being too smart or being too inquisitive, um, and or they were teased basically for being too much of an intellectual. And so a lot of people get into these relationships, a lot of Geminis get into relationships and allow a lot of folks to basically ridicule them, just like because of their intellectualism or their way of thinking or their ideologies. This card is basically saying that in 2019, this cannot continue. If you're going to be with someone, make sure that they respect your intellect as well. If they can't, bye. Because it's a form of abuse, right? That's a form of abuse when someone is um, intellectually, um, basically like intellectually ridiculing you. I know that's not the word um, would like to use, but basically, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, basically, like intellectually, the disrespecting you intellectually. I mean, that's the word I can come up with for now. So whomever you end up being with, um, Gemini, make sure that they respect you, respect your intellect, respect your words, respect your opinions, because the minute they don't, that's a wrap. It's a wrap. I'm also getting the mind and body, okay, for this card. A lot of you are not protecting yourself sexually. A lot of you are like, it's as if when it comes to relationships or when it comes to hooking up with somebody, your common sense tends to go out the window. And especially when you are giving your body to anybody, you're basically being told that you're being told not to do this. That there is no mind and body connection when it comes to sexual relationships. Okay, a lot of us are out here, um, like giving our bodies to people who don't respect their own temple, let alone ours. Idealistically and intellectually, that sleeping with somebody without protection is wrong. or sleeping with someone while uh, drunk or high is not the best thing to do. You know, or putting yourself in a position of being um, putting yourself in a position to like, how do I say this? Putting yourself in a position of doing something you would never do simply because you want to be in this relationship or you're interested in this person. Um, it's a no. It's to be a no go if you are to be in a relationship that is suitable for you. I'm not saying this, by all means. If you're down for like casual sex, I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about um, if you have been traumatized before, or you've have gone through some sort of sexual abuse, and it has not, and that has not been resolved. Of course, you're going to most of the time you're going to be with someone who does not respect your body, and you are not going to respect your body because a lot of the times sex has been used for some sort of validation, and so it gets you into trouble when you start doing things that intellectually or ideally you would not do to yourself, because especially if you want to become a person, a much more healed person. If you're going through a healing or you're going through some sort of sexual healing, um, I feel like I'm not like making any sense when it comes to this because this is very tricky. And the reason why this is very tricky is because there's a lot of I'm just getting a lot of women. Women and female body individuals Geminis have a tendency to do this. We have a tendency to do this. We end up being with somebody who doesn't care about us, and we put ourselves in positions to be violated by this person in some way, shape, or form. And we compromise a lot of our common sense for some fool who doesn't like us, who would never do this, um, who would never put themselves in a situation on our behalf, um, because that mind and body connection isn't there. They don't respect you. They don't respect who you are. They only respect what they can get from it. And this card is basically saying, do not allow anybody, don't allow anyone to believe, don't allow anyone to even assume that you are one to be used for their own personal or sexual gain. Please know that I'm saying, or what I'm saying is that is nothing is your fault. You didn't do anything wrong to anybody to even deserve anything. But what this card is saying is that this is the time, Geminis, especially female and gender non-conforming people, or female women in um, female embodied people. Okay, um, female bodied people. Um, this is a time for us to love ourselves and not put ourselves in a position for somebody who does not care about us. Protect yourself, protect yourself, use protection, make sure they use protection. Don't, you know, because don't sleep with anybody that you don't care about, unless, it's casual sex and you're into that and you healed enough to do that. Um, but yeah, like, don't put yourself in a situation where you're with someone and they manipulate you and they're doing something you don't want to. That's what I'm getting from that card. I'm just getting you deserve more than those type of encounters, where you deserve more than that type of relationship where there is no sense of boundary. when it comes to like sexual interactions. That's the last. That's the last thing you need, Gemini. My female bodied and women Geminis. Okay. Last card here is the Sentinel card. It's the Earth card. Um, it's basically like a card. It's upside down. So this card is basically representing those who are gatekeeping on someone else's behalf or being a leader on someone else's behalf. Um, and so what this card is saying is that you are not the type of person. Um, you just don't take orders from people, Gemini. You just don't take things at face value. Um, you don't take um, you don't take things at face value. You do research. Um, here you go. You not only do research, but you see things at different angles. This is the same thing with relationships and love. You have the tendency to look at things and situations from different angles. But when it comes to any sort of relationship, you're being asked to not only slow down with this person, but also ask questions, do research. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Just don't be with someone, okay? You can let someone in over time, but if something does not ring true, if something isn't right, then get the hell out of there, okay? But do allow yourself to get to know that person. Um, don't jump into anything, and Gemini, don't jump into anything that you are very uncomfortable with. I'm just, I'm getting like to start with this card. I'm just getting start moving. I'm just getting to move in the right direction. What does that mean, Spirit? Yeah, be aware of intentions. Be aware of your intentions. Be aware of why you're in a relationship. Be aware of what love means to you or what it is to you. Just don't take everything at face value when it comes to other people. Start thinking deeply about and ground yourself. Start thinking deeply about what love is to you and what you are looking for. Because it's easy to fall into a trap of of thinking we know what we want when we really don't. Okay, and that's what gets us into trouble to begin with. That's why a lot of these cards are saying be patient. Get to know the person, so on and so forth. Don't take everything at face value. And I'm also getting don't settle. Don't settle. Don't settle because of society saying that you are to be married at this time, or you're to have a certain type of relationship at around this time. You are to have children at around this time because a lot of y'all are falling into this trap. A lot of you are falling into this trap. And it's making you nervous because you're like, I don't want to. When it comes to family too, I'm also getting a family vibe from this card too. Don't allow your family to pressure you into being with somebody or being in a type of relationship or even having children when you don't want to or when you're not ready to. Listen, I remember when I was 26 years old, everybody was asking me, in my family, people were asking me when I was going to have a child. I was 26 years of age. I did not even have the money for a child. I don't, I'm not even trying to be pregnant. This is before I transitioned and before I got my hysterectomy. I had no intention of having children. And I didn't even know how to tell that to my family. But I was not going to allow them to pressure me into doing something I was not comfortable doing. I was not comfortable. And so basically, what I'm getting from this card right here is not, don't let society, your family, or your friends pressure you into doing something. When it comes to love, don't allow your people to pressure you into something that you are not ready for, and don't allow society to tell you that in order for you to be a real woman or a real man or a real person that you are to have a family. Not everyone is looking for something that large. Not everyone is looking for not everyone's looking forward to settling down. So if you are not ready to settle down right now, Gemini, then you are not obligated to do so. But what I'm getting from this card right away is these cards right away is that they're literally telling a story of Gemini is basically to check your intentions before you get into a relationship. And if you are in a relationship, um, basically compromise with that person and let them know that they matter. Let them know that they matter. Let them know that their feelings matter, their thoughts matter. Um, their very presence matters. Now, if they're being abusive or they're being a complete assholes, that's one thing. But if they're not and they're doing everything they can to connect with you, Gemini, you are to not focus on yourself as much, and you are to give that person a time of day. Because if they're a good person and they're doing everything they can to make sure the relationship works, and you're not pulling your half of the weight, chances are I see a breakup happening. I see like a separation happening. So that's all I have for Geminis. Um, if you resonate with that message in any way, shape, or form, by all means, subscribe to the channel. You can also, well, this stuff is falling out. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram. You can also hit me up on my website, thebowtiepsychic.com, if you would like to have a more in-depth reading. So that is all I have for tonight. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve. And I'll talk to you soon. All right. Peace.